Okay,
Okay.
you're all set.
Good afternoon. We are here for case 22M0313 in the matter of the Commission's broadband study and mapping pursuant to the Broadband Connectivity Act. My name is Anthony Belcito. I am an administrative law judge with the New York State Department of Public Service, and I have been assigned to conduct today's public hearing for the department's broadband assessment program. With us on the line today is also Commissioner Majori. Commissioner, would you like to say anything before we begin?
Thank you. Sure. Thank you very much. I am just here to listen. I find these types of public statement hearings very useful in understanding matters that might come before the commission. But you're not here to listen to me. I'd like to thank everybody who is participating today, taking time out of their day to make their voices heard. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. As indicated in a notice issued on February 27th, 2023, we're going to start with an information session immediately followed by the public statement hearing. The information session will be led by Valerie Galasso from the department's Office of Telecommunications. Ms. Galasso, if you are all set, please proceed.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Really quickly, I'm going to go through a few PowerPoints to just talk about why we're here today. In April of 2021, as you may recall, the legislature passed what was called the Comprehensive Broadband Connectivity Act. That law allowed the Department of Public Service to create the Broadband Assessment Program, a program that's now housed in the agency's Office of Telecommunications. The program annually releases an interactive broadband map and report detailing the availability and reliability of high-speed broadband in infrastructure statewide. We're committed to making this program something that can be used by everyone, but we need your input to understand what's happening in your communities. Next slide, please. A little bit on how we're conducting our research. Mapping broadband infrastructure is no small task. This is our second iteration of the map. That's why we're using a three-pronged approach. We're using internet service provider data to help us assess gaps statewide. We're conducting field verifications of high-speed infrastructure where necessary. And we're hearing straight from consumers like you via our broadband assessment survey and through a series of public statement hearings. Next slide, please. What we're hoping to learn from you today, we want to hear about your internet accessibility barriers. Among other topics, we're interested in hearing from those of you who are dealing with the following. You lack internet service entirely. Internet is unaffordable to you. You lack ISP competition in your area. And finally, you don't feel like you're getting the speeds that you pay for. Next slide. A bit about our map. Our PSC broadband map can be found at www.mapmybroadband.dps.ny.gov. This map will have last year's broadband data in it. Please feel free to browse and know that later on this spring, the data will be updated. In addition to typing in your address and learning more about service in your area, you can also submit feedback directly to DPS staff, and you're encouraged to take our broadband consumer survey. We hope everyone on this call will take the survey by April 3rd, 2023. If you're unable to take the survey online due to lack of connectivity, you can call our toll-free broadband assessment line at 1-855-NY-BB-MAP. That's 1-855-NY-BB-MAP. Next slide. And to wrap things up, I'd also like to talk about a call to action. We want to make every eligible New Yorker aware about the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program, also known as the ACP. The program provides discounts up to $30 a month toward internet service. You can visit www.fcc.gov/ACP or call 877-384-2383 2575 for more information and to sign up. Thank you so much, and back to you, Judge Belcito.
Thank you, Ms. Galasso. At this point, we will begin the public statement hearing. So, Mr. White, if we could go on the record, you could begin recording. That would be great. Thank you very much. Again, the purpose of today's hearing is to receive public comments concerning the availability, affordability, and adoption of residential and commercial broadband internet access services in the state of New York. The statements you make today will become part of the case record. We will record them and prepare a transcript of the hearing, which will be included in the official record of this proceeding so that your comments can be considered. This hearing is not an evidentiary hearing or a question and answer session, but a forum to hear comments from you. If you did not register to speak at today's hearing, but you would like your views included in the record, there are a variety of other ways to comment that were listed in the public notice for today's event. They include mail, phone, or electronically, as is posted on the WebEx slide. Regardless of how the comments are submitted, they will be given equal consideration. Comments may be submitted and will be considered throughout the pendency of this proceeding. I will call people. There are people participating electronically and others who may be participating by phone. In either case, you should make sure to only have one audio input from one device. Otherwise, you may experience problems with feedback. I will call registered individuals one by one to speak. If someone is not available when I call them, I will continue to the next person and will come back to those who are not available at the end. After I call your name, we will unmute your line. You should hear a tone and see that the microphone icon is no longer red. Please be reminded that if you have muted your own telephone line, you will also have to unmute your line before you begin to speak. When your line is unmuted, please state your name, and if you are speaking on behalf of an organization, identify the name of the organization. Once I confirm that we can hear you, you can proceed to make your comments. Please speak slowly and clearly so that your comments can be recorded accurately and we can capture your statement accurately for the record. To the extent you have a lengthy written statement, please summarize your statements orally and submit the full written statement by email or mail. Because of the number of people who are registered to speak, we also ask that you stay within a roughly 3-minute time limit for your oral comments so that we can ensure we get to all our speakers. All right. All right, our first speaker is William Farber.
Not seeing a William Farber, Your Honor. Maybe William Calden. If William Calden, he can hit *3 on his line and we'll be able to see him and unmute him.
Okay, for folks who I call and for whatever reason are participating via telephone, we cannot see your name on the WebEx screen, but if you hit *3, your phone will be unmuted, or we'll recognize your phone line and we should be able to unmute it. Is there a William Farber on the line? Okay, we'll go to Laura Murphy.
Hi, this is Laura Murphy. Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. Well, my name is Laura Murphy, and I'm a member of the Broadband Committee in the town of Knox in Albany County. Our committee was created to advocate for obtaining wired broadband internet access for the approximate 20% of our residents who are without wired internet in our town. Wireless internet providers are either not stable or not accessible here, as the mountains block the communication from the towers. The only option we have is a MiFi hotspot, which does not provide very good service. and will be limited as far as use. The only option we have for wired internet provider in our area is Spectrum. Our committee is hoping to receive federal grant money intended for the broadband access build out to extend the access to our unserved population. The Public Service Commission broadband map located at mapmybroadband.dps.ny.gov has many Knox residences listed as being served by a fiber optic company called First Light Fiber. I called First Light and was told that this information was incorrect and First Light does not serve residential properties, nor do they serve any place in the town of Knox. We are concerned that if this map is used to decide who will receive broadband, that these residences will be missed as it shows they are served when in fact they aren't. Our committee is working with Spectrum Charter Communications to develop an accurate data listing of our unserved residences in the town of Knox. We would like to know if we can present this list to the Public Service Commission to have your broadband map updated with correct data. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Next on the list is Matthew Stanley. Again, Matthew Stanley.
Go ahead, Matthew. You've been unmuted.
Hello, I can't hear what's going on, so
There you
hopefully
are,
you guys
Matthew.
can hear me.
We can hear you, Matthew.
We can hear you now. Thank you.
It looks like I'm unmuted, so I'm going to assume it's my turn to talk. So I'll speak as quickly as I can here. As a representative of the Essex County Board of Supervisors, an elected body which is comprised of the town supervisors from 18 towns in Essex County, please allow me to extend my deepest appreciation for the opportunity to share with you the Public Service Commission. We know publicly that the Essex County Board of Supervisors recognizes the release of the first interactive broadband map and report on June 16th, 2022, and that the PSC is now in process of preparing its annual update to the report, which we hope will be guided by the public comments you receive via these hearings. Our public hearing testimony wishes to make 3 points: accessing quality, reliable, and affordable broadband in the Adirondack Park, which is a unique and deeply challenged process. Essex County has significant lack of competition for broadband, which drives rates higher than many can afford. Broadband must be regulated as a public utility with a Public Service Commission taking more robust stance on the issue to protect most of its vulnerable constituents in our county. I have a lot of information here for points 1, 2, and 3 that I have. But overall, I think the Public Service Commission really needs to be looking at these 3 points and helping change the digital divide that exists through Essex County, the Adirondack Park, and North Country. We understand that nobody created this problem, but we have inherited this problem that we as state and local leaders need to address now. We believe that removing the privatization of utility and regulating it as a public utility is the best way to ensure that the digital divide is closed and the equity among our constituents at long last is realized. The Public Service Commission must fight to ensure that this happens now. In closing, on behalf of the Essex County Board of Supervisors, we thank the Commission and the Commissioners for the opportunity to inform you of the current situation on the ground for our not so small but incredibly important corner of New York State. We are fighting hard for our citizens through advocacy and action, working with non-governmental and governmental partners to do all we can to bring digital equity and inclusion to the most remote corners of our country and county where our residents call home. We rely on you, the Public Service Commission, to be a staunch advocate for and a reliable ally to not just our 37,000 Essex County citizens, but all of the 19.84 million people who call New York State home. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Next on the list, we have Allison Ellis.
Allison, if you've called in, please raise your hand. You do that by hitting *3 on your telephone.
Allison Ellis, and if you've called in, please hit *3 on your phone so we can recognize which line is yours to unmute it. Okay, we'll move on to Christine Strade.
Okay, Christine, you're unmuted.
Okay, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christine Strade. I am a resident of Allegheny, New York, in the southern tier of New York State. Specifically live on the Chipmunk Road, and our address does not even appear on the broadband map. We do not have any internet access available to us. The only thing available would be potentially through cell phone plans. And recently, AT&T has removed the 3G backbone. So now we don't even have phone service or internet service. It becomes very frustrating when we hear of these grants and the funding and the opportunity and the goal to provide high-speed internet to every home in New York State, but the rural areas are not being looked at in that grade of detail. When you have kids who have dealt with COVID and remote school, I'm the CEO of a healthcare facility, and to have no access to internet or high speed in today's day and age is very frustrating. It's no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. So I'm just advocating for whatever can be done to provide this service in our area. Certainly would be appreciated.
Thank you. Next, we have Alfred Stivic. I don't think I said that right. Oh, Ann is there. Again, Alfred Stivic.
So it's listed as Anna, but I'm going to unmute that person. I believe it's the same
Okay,
person.
next on the list is Anna Stivic.
Yep,
Okay.
so I've unmuted Anna. Hi, Anna. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Alfred is either my husband or my father-in-law, and maybe they are on the call as well. I'm not sure. I live in the Sullivan County in the town of Delaware, the hamlet of Callicoon. I am a resident, a business owner, and a mother, and have been trying to advocate for service on our road since we moved up here 3 years ago. There is zero service. The only option for us is the MiFi option, cellular plans. I'm very fortunate that during COVID, I could afford for my daughter to have a tablet and be able to connect. Unfortunately, in this rural area, that is not the standard. I have gone through the town, I have gone through Spectrum, Aileen Gunther's office. Everyone is very aware that our lack of availability here, to the point of the gentleman earlier, it is no longer a luxury. It is definitely a necessity and should be regulated just like our electric is. It is frustrating to be taking care of 2 aging seniors and trying to do telemed appointments for them and their illnesses. And we have such inability to connect. I was trying to connect on this call today because I'm sitting in my car on my cell phone and kept getting cut off and had to drive to a spot where I could access cellular service, which is kind of laughable when we're talking about this very issue. But if we could make sure that the map is correct, many people have pointed out the errors in the map, and get service. It's $112,000 for them to bring it to our house. there's no way the average person can afford $112,000 to bring Spectrum to the house. So we appreciate anything that the commission can do to look at this so that grants are available in these rural areas to help our seniors, our children, our business owners, and just your average everyday citizen. Thank you for your time today, gentlemen and women.
Thank you very much. Next on the list is Nicole Rivera.
Oh, Your Honor, I don't see her. Nicole, if you have called in, can you please raise your hand by hitting *3 on your telephone? Okay, Your Honor, I don't see her.
Okay, next we have March Gallagher.
Good afternoon. I assume that you can hear me, but my name is March Gallagher. I'm the Ulster County Comptroller. I serve an elected office and I represent all of the people of Ulster County. In May of 2022, I convened, pursuant to the Ulster County Charter, a Citizens Commission to examine broadband in our area. It is now called the Citizens Commission on Digital Inclusion. We immediately began mapping broadband in Ulster County, and we identified 1,100 locations without cable fiber broadband. That data has been shared back to DPS. We also found that that made us ready to provide a bulk FCC challenge on behalf of Ulster County. We identified 435 lack of service locations and 165 missing locations in a challenge to the map. I really want to stress to you today that digital inclusion includes a lot of things that I don't think we normally think about. And these extend to things like the long driveway problem. Especially in our county, which is a rural county the size of Rhode Island, there's a perception that only wealthy people live up long driveways, and I can tell you that is just plain not true. We have plenty of moderate and low-income families that live up long driveways and have no access to service. In addition, when we were implementing our FCC bulk challenge, we identified a number of problems that individuals were having as they sought to make their individual challenges based on their own location. These included antiquated equipment, a lack of digital literacy, as well as language barriers. And that last one I want to stress in particular, we have families in the most urban part of our community who lack access to service because of language barriers, and we do not have a way around those problems. I'm going to just conclude by noting what other people have noted previously, and that is that broadband access affects education, healthcare, emergency services, work, and civic participation. And I want to take 1 second to circle back to emergency services to say our commission has expanded its purview to also discuss and examine cellular access. Cellular access is dependent on fiber access. We have wide swaths of the county with no cellular access. It is an emergency services problem, and we hope that you will expand your look at that going forward. So thank you for your time today, and we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Next, we have Sarah
Your Honor,
Mullins.
Annette is here. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The court reporter is present.
All right, thank you, Joe. Next on the list, we have Sarah Mullins.
You hear me?
I can now, yes, thank you. Please proceed.
Okay. I live in Brant Lake, and we do have internet service, but it's very tenuous and it's incredibly slow. We are older people, we're active in the community. I think the comments that have already been made, I would say are very accurate. We get dropped, we have a lot of problems, and right now our service is hanging by one little wire. We had bundles of wire because we have DSL, and a lot of them have just decayed over the years, and our provider, which is Frontier, has said that once that last cable or wire is no longer viable, then we're done. that they don't plan to run anything else up here. So, and that's a real problem. So I would, I want to thank everybody who's made very good, strong comments. And I too believe this should be regulated as a standard utility that people absolutely need for multiple reasons. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next on the list is Peg Fuller.
Peg, if you've called in, please raise your hand by hitting *3 on your telephone. No raised hands, Your Honor. There is a raised hand, but it's not Peg.
Okay, next on the list is Walter Aikman.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. My name is Walt Aikman, Aikman. I'm a small business owner working hard to establish a native plant nursery along the shores of Lake Ontario. And when I log into mybroadband.dps.ny.gov, I experience something very similar to the other speakers, my fellow New Yorkers. And that is that the majority, in fact, all of my surrounding neighbors are shown on the map as having unserved. We don't even register getting any service in that particular, what I like to call the last mile. And like my other fellow New Yorkers, I congratulate you on this effort. I encourage you to persist, keep going, don't stop. We need a publicly supported broadband effort in this state so that all of us can have access to this technology. We need a better market competition for the services that we need. Many of the people I know in rural parts of New York are victims of horrible, horrible internet service providers. They can't get technical support. They can't get the correct software. They can't get anybody to come out and help them. And it doesn't really only affect those of us who are not, the best whiz kids with the tech. Highly sophisticated engineers I know get very frustrated. We went to the trouble and the expense of working with New York State, and we installed solar panels. And our contractor had a devil of a time syncing the panels to the inverter because he required software tools to adjust the firmware and make sure that everything is copacetic. Now, if an installer is having trouble like that along Lake Ontario, you can just imagine how serious an obstacle it could be to providing the type of telemedicine, the type of services that New York State provides, whether it's sales tax payments or access to your retirement, whatever secure access you have, you're locked out of that unless you get the broadband connections. So in our township, we have a very functional town, a great planning board. We're protecting our groundwater resources. We're protecting our open space resources. So we do need additional help. Finally, the last thing I want to say, and I've spoken to the folks in the IT department in New York State, the basic shape files that we have available for use are in a web Mercator format, which is not acceptable. It's got to be in something like UTM or Albers that allows us to use it in spatial analysis. Thank you so much for your time and effort, and hang in there.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll go back to the beginning of the list to see if anyone was able to log on. We'll start with Mr. Farber, William Farber.
Not electronically, Your Honor. Maybe Mr. Farber called in.
Okay, if I call your name, just a reminder to everyone, please hit *3 if you've called in, and we'll be able to recognize your phone line and unmute you. So again, I'll call him one more time, Mr. William Farber.
No raised hand, Your Honor.
Okay. And Allison Ellis?
Not electronically, Your Honor.
Alfred Stepik.
Not electronically. And not by phone.
Nicole Rivera. Okay. I believe that's everyone we have on the list. If anyone who is not registered to speak today, but is on the line or has joined us via WebEx would like to, please raise your hand via WebEx. There are the directions there on the screen. And again, if you're on the phone line and would like to speak, please hit *3 and we can unmute you.
Hand. Sorry to interrupt. We have one raised hand. Go ahead and unmute. You've been unmuted, Gina.
Thank you, Gina Mincer.
Thank
I'm
you.
the Executive Director of the Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce and CVB in Lake George, New York. I'm speaking on behalf of our 450 members, as well as being a resident of Lake Luzerne. For number one, for our 450 businesses, 30% of which are seasonal. And those seasonal businesses, Spectrum changed their seasonal billing that forced seasonal businesses that they must be open 6 months to actually have and pay for 6 months for their internet. Spectrum is our only provider. Or they had to be on a yearly contract. There was no month to month. If a particular business wanted to open up for just winter, you know, for when we're busy in, let's say, February, they couldn't do that as a small business owner that might have 10 rooms. Overall, our bandwidth with Spectrum during the high summer season, where people check into their rooms with 1, 2, 3, 4 devices, from a phone that might go into Wi-Fi to a tablet to a laptop, in addition to what's already being offered on the property. We experience very slow to no broadband access starting at about 2 o'clock every day during the months of July, August, and September. And that has been an ongoing issue. During COVID, that was exacerbated as more people were working from home, and we were all using the same level of bandwidth here in the Lake George area. That would be the town and village of Lake George, as well as our, I had, somebody was here from Brant Lake, that's in Warren County. So we all feel the pinch, and having that one provider that has us, you know, by their either their generosity or not. As a resident of town of Lake Luzerne, I live on 9N, a very busy stretch, where part of that stretch is a dead zone. And so on any given day, cars will be in my front yard. We had a snowstorm. There was 15 bucket trucks in my front yard, in my paved area, because they had no other access to cellular and or any broadband. They were really forcing themselves on my own Wi-Fi, however that was open. But we experienced that day in and day out in the town of Lake Luzerne, and our only provider is Spectrum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a Peg Fuller on the line now that has not had an opportunity to speak?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. I'm sorry I got on late. I didn't know I had to like download something to get on, and my internet sucks so bad that it like took a half an hour to get on. I am in Shenango County. I'm in a town called South Otselic, Shenango County. I am limited right now to Frontier DSL dial-up, whatever you call it. My rates are like the speed. It's like under two. So like the 1, 2, like 2. So when I run the test, sometimes it comes back 0.05 or 0.08. But yeah, I'm under 2 for upload and download speeds. We can't stream anything here. Like TV, nothing. Can't stream anything. A lot of times when I'm on Zoom calls, I get knocked off. If I'm on a business Zoom call, I get knocked off or I freeze. It's very unprofessional and very difficult to do. I've contacted Spectrum, which is about less than a half a mile down the road from me. They told me they would charge me, and this was years ago, $3,000 to put the poles up so I could have Spectrum. And that was like half the cost. They were going to split it with me. Wonderful. No, thank you. I don't have that money. I've asked Frontier about fiber optic. Nobody will answer my question, yet I know surrounding towns around me have fiber optic. I tried HughesNet once. I could not afford to pay HughesNet, and I thought it was a horrible service. It was no faster or no better than my dial-up. It just really wasn't what they said they were, and it was a data plan. I cannot do a data plan. It's cost prohibitive for me. My one neighbor got Starlink. I don't have right now the $600 to be put on a waiting list to get Starlink and pay over $100 for my internet, which that may be my only chance right now to get a decent thing, because I have nothing coming in here. And I was told if I get rid of my Frontier service that I'm paying for this crappy internet, I will never even get that back. My neighbor that recently bought called Frontier and asked for internet, and they said, we cannot guarantee you 100, whatever it's called, 100 megabytes or something. So you will not be hooked up. You are not allowed to be hooked up, and refused him service. I talked to a technician because we complain all the time, and technician came out. He goes, if you ever cancel, they will not hook you up again because your bandwidth or whatever is so low that you can't. I'm grandfathered in to keep it as long as I don't cancel it. So I'm in a horrible situation right now, and I think fiber optics my answer, but I can't pay to put the poles in. Sorry, and I guess that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Again, is there anyone that has joined us via WebEx or the telephone who would like to make a public statement this afternoon, whether you have pre-registered or not?
We have one person, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Laura Panacea. I live in Diamond Point, but just like the lady from Lake Luzerne was talking about, we did a whole thing through Warren County that and got everybody on my road that lives here. We have no internet access. We don't have Spectrum up here. We have no dial-up, nothing. The only thing you could do is a hotspot or the Starlet that the lady was talking about just before here. We have no service available. I used to have a hotspot, the same thing. It was very little, if anything, and it cost me a couple $100 a month. It's just outrageous. And when the summer is around, our cell phone doesn't really work. And even right now, I only get one bar on my cell phone. So I agree that this is not any longer a luxury, because health facilities are constantly like, can we send you emails? Can you send? And I can't because I don't have that service. So when we did the survey, it said that we had service on our road. We don't. And I guess that's partly why I was in on this and calling in, is I don't know how to tell people or who to notify that we don't have the service, and how can we be set up to get something in here. And that's just my only point. And thank you for all you've done, and hopefully you can help us.
Thank you very much. And I will ask again if there's anyone on the line via telephone or WebEx who would like to speak. Please raise your hand, or on the phone hit *3 so we can unmute your line.
How about we have someone, Your Honor, Dave. Ms. Dave Kilpatrick, I believe. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add that My name is Dave Kilpatrick. I'm actually living in the Rochester area. And while we are an urban center, we don't have as many struggles as my fellow New Yorkers seem to have with internet. And I just want to provide comment that it's disheartening to hear the struggles they have. I believe that internet should be a public utility, as most people have said, and it puts the rural communities at a disadvantage, both in education and in business. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White, I think there's a call-in user that has their hand up.
I think that's the same person, but I'll unmute them for you, Your Honor. Go ahead.
I already commented.
I'm going to lower all the hands, Your Honor, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the deck has been cleared. You can ask again if you want.
All right. Anyone wishing to speak, please raise your hand via WebEx or hit *3 if you're on the telephone.
No raised hands, Your Honor.
All right, excellent. So that concludes our hearing. I do want to remind members of the public that they may submit public comments throughout the proceeding by other means described earlier and in the notice of the public statement hearing today. That's either email, mail, telephone, or online. There is also another public statement hearing this evening at 6:00 p.m. And we would want to thank everyone for their time and attention this afternoon, and members of the public for their statements. Our thanks also to the Consumer Services Office for administering this session and our court reporter. With that, the hearing is concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Live stream is ended. I have the recording for the court stenographer. I'll send it over once it's downloaded from the web or from WebEx.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ms.